I must have already.
I wondered if anyone thought it hurt.
Which is not hit totally. The News of the World. Joan was asking about Mary Lou Gelbart, who's invited to speak. But we had 7 speakers. You was the first convener of Save Our Park. The SAPART Expo 2004 is being held at the Gasworks Theatre at Albert Park, and this exhibition was sponsored by the City of Port Phillip. Firstly, to commemorate or celebrate especially the Save Albert Park art aspect of the great movement, which has been going for 10 years, and also to mark those 10 years by the SAP movement itself. So the exhibition is running through a lot of aspects of the movement, of actions and protests, and by video as well of the protest as it started. With the arts group, starting from the beginning, quite a lot of artists joined in on the membership of Save Albert Park, and among people from other diverse callings. Acting within the significant tradition of protest art, they contributed their considerable talents to the campaign, adding their own flair to events designed to publicise the need to save Albert Park from the commercial predation, really, and corporatisation and takeover, virtually by business, of the whole precinct of Albert Park. A group of artists started it off by creating some, they call the Oberville panels, on a fence on a wonderful old historical house on the hill of St Kilda. And these people were Andrew Sibley, Pamela Ashcroft, Tim Bass, Glyn Williams, and also Irina Sibley, Ailsa Brooks, Mike Green, Janet Green, Maury Hughes. They created these 5 panels, and the other artists, apart from the main 5, added murals along the fence. And they were actually anti-graffitied by the artists before they installed them, the 5 panels. And of course they were sabotaged and mutilated, or graffitied actually, the first night that they were hung up. And the artists were able to come along and repair them. So that's one detail coming out of that issue. Those panels have been put into the State Library, and we can't access them now because they're rather large, too fragile and too expensive. Actually, we couldn't bring them into the show. We couldn't also afford to cover insurance. Only the great government libraries can take them out because they can afford to pay for insurance and to transport them as well, to pay for cartage. After this first expression by these artists on this fence, the SAPART committee was formed, and other people like myself and a few other people joined in on the committee, and from then on we developed these other exhibitions. The main exhibition we had after that was the 9x5 exhibition. That's coming out of the history of the turn of last century of the Heidelberg artists, Arthur Streeton, Frederick McCubbin, Charles Condell and so on. They had a giant exhibition on cigarette boxes, which were the size of 9x5, and they were actually expressing in anger against the establishment art. So they had this exhibition for that. So this idea is coming from that, and that was Andrew Sibley's and Irina Sibley's idea to do this. And so that's how that came about. We invited artists from all over Australia, a lot of them very famous, Arthur Boyd, Rick Moore, there are countless names if you want me to mention more. In this exhibition we've been able to capture about 27 original pieces of the 9x5 show out of 200 from people who are around and about, and we can easily return to them. Also they've increased in value a lot a great number of them, so we were a bit protective about putting too many in here. And so instead we've put the rest of them, or half of them, onto slides, and we've got 2 projectors running continuously, automatically, illustrating most of the rest of the paintings that we had in the first 9x5 exhibition, and also some of the student exhibition pieces, because we had another exhibition after the first 9x5 one, nearly as large, organised by students of various art colleges. We sold nearly all of them, actually, Ursula. Yes, nearly all of them. Both the student ones and the 9x5 original show. We also had a book produced by a wonderful, especially black and white photographer called Nina Landis, and she produced a book, as I mentioned before, from actions that we had through the park. She used to follow us through and take photographs all the time, so that helped become the backbone to the book that she produced. From that time too, we also had an exhibition. And again, there were about 100 artists or more contributed, obviously egg pieces around Easter time, wonderful creative pieces, and that was a very successful show. Julia Blake, the actress, made a speech about it and wrote a little play based on Othello about the thing. And then later on, the following year, we had another exhibition of raincoats. We produced 12 raincoats by mainly people from the art committee itself, and there was another wonderful fundraiser. All these exhibitions, apart from being art expressions, were fundraisers, of course. I think I mentioned that before, to some extent, which formed a backbone of finance for Save Our Park, which in itself as well produced, supplied about $200,000 worth of money coming out of funds and other fundraising exercises from the group themselves. The final main expression that we had from the SAP Art group was the roof art. That was again protest art. It was devised from 21 big banners on roofs of houses in the adjacent area to the park. They were designed up, drawn up and painted up by the group in a backyard in South Melbourne. The roofs were measured up after they had permission from the people who were enthusiastic about the idea, and tied up onto the roof and set up just the night of before the main day of the first Grand Prix experience. So that was quite an exciting thing to do, and they were left up there the whole time. I think the media in the first instance showed a few of them, and then they were chopped out. I think they managed to fly past. Always shuffling papers. You never stop. Now Godzilla, he's a sculpture that we've made with our, I can't think of, it's Peter Goad, who's our convener, and he and I made this together. And these are remnants that have been gathered together from various people who go around and check out the damage that's been done to the park, and also making records of all the accidents. And so we've got these all together and turned them into a sculpture. Peter did the armature for it, and I had fun cobbling it all together. And so that's Godzilla.
Do you want to go with this?
Well, maybe let's do the art.
Okay.
Let's keep going on that one. That might be better. So over here we have, as we couldn't get them from the library, we've had some large photographs printed of the 5 Oberville panels. It's Pam Ashbold, Andrew Sibley, Glyn Williams and Tim Bass. Also lovely Mike Green. And that gives us a streetscape of how it looks from the street in St Kilda Hill. And I think the artists painted these at someone's workshop, and then they carried them along and hang them up in the evening, at night. And then, as I said, the vandals damaged them, but they were able to come back and clean them all up because they were anti-graffiti beforehand, and so they were fine, and they were left there for quite some long time. So over here, I didn't mention before, around about 95 as well, we had a litho show, and 5 panels by 5 of the artists. Some were others, such as Mercabora, Wendy Stavrianos, Andrew Sibley, John Woolsey and Bill May. And they were, again, a fundraiser. I've forgotten the name of the gallery where they were hung, but they were very successful too. And then, sorry? Yes, yes, sure.
Oh, that's...
It's Andrew Sibley,
Yeah.
yes. John Woolsey.
Which was Mercamora?
Mercamora is the last one on the right. Yes, now we're coming to the 95, 9 by 5, and about 27 pieces there, very precious.
Were they all from the original one?
Yes, these are original ones. The original. A few of them are from the Shimocracy, from students, about 4 or 5 of them, but the rest are from the 9 by 5 first exhibition. And very, very exciting pieces, really. Really quite moving. And then that's a piece by Irena Sibley, which is quite a lovely one. The 3 men is Richard, Robert Walker, and Kennett. And I think that's a portrait of himself, actually, in the middle between the two, Ron Walker and Kennett. And there's one of mine, I suppose, if we must. Looking at the compaction in the background and the representation of the police, the Grand Prix officers, and also the...
What's the dog about?
Well, we were blocked out of the... They were accused as well. It's a lovely piece of watercolour, actually, too, by Mike Green, who's one of our main members of the art committee. As a priest. And over here we have about 120 of the pieces from the 9 by 5s, actually, all recorded for posterity, catalogued. This is a small section of the exhibition by various artists.
With the...
Yes, we have here about 7 pieces. Yes, there are 7 of the exhibition. And again, expressions of, in various ways, of the damage that was done to the park and the way it was before in some of those pieces. I love this one here. Here's some of our raincoats that we did to have fun and also to raise money for the cause. Some wonderful pieces here by Pamela Ashcroft and Andrew Sibley, and also Mike Green. This one is a wonderful piece with lots of paintings hanging from the raincoat itself. Perhaps if we could just move around the back of that as well. Guess we could go around that way. Mind the
So is that the one you've been talking about?
this one here,
Yeah.
and it's swung around again. It doesn't want to be photographed on the other side because it's turned itself around the other way.
This is quite ingenious,
It is,
actually.
isn't it? It's quite rich and a bit naughty.
Oh, it can be naughty.
Peter Bonner, that's right. That's the other one up there.
Which one?
The heads with the reddish background with the heads. Yes. And I think up on the right, that's Mukamura with the
Oh, they have
birds and animals.
high up
and
there.
yes.
Yeah.
And then the very top one, I'm not sure, it's one of the students, I think. Okay. So there are 6 out of 12, which is pretty good actually. Now we're going over to the roof top art, which we had a lot of fun doing.